So it's only as I came to film that I realized I haven't told everyone that I had the opportunity to be one of the many judges on the Booktube Prize Octofinals. But this is because I thought I had done it on the channel, but because I haven't unlocked the community tab for 500 plus subscribers, I instead shared the news on my Instagram account. So this might be the first time you're hearing about it. In short, about 2 months ago, I got the news that I was selected to judge, and I was chosen for the fiction genre Group D selection. I had actually said, any genre I'm interested in, and decided to go with all audiobooks for this judging round. And that is because I knew I was going to be very busy professionally and personally. I did end up having an exception to the audiobook decision, and that is The Trees, because the audiobook for this one wasn't going to be out until the 15th of March. So it is out now, but I had the paperback. So I got to experience 5 brilliant narrators and kept my 7-month-old puppy happy with lots of walks while I listened to the stories unfold. It's wonderful to finally be able to talk about these books now that the judging round is finished, because I've been sort of holding it in. All 6 books, though very different, have themes that fit with each other. And I'm going to go with the easiest theme. There are some that overlap with each other in terms of this idea of themes within a book, but I'll go with reflective and poetic, religious, and the trees. So the first duo is reflective and poetic. First up is Open Water, and this has 2 young people meeting in a southeast London pub. Both are Black British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggled to find a sense of belonging. Both are artists. He's a photographer and she's a dancer. And it is a love story and so much more. In terms of the love story, it's beautiful to find the sense of belonging in another, where you have this feeling that 2 people are destined to be together. But there's also this underlying issue of threat of being torn apart. Every time you remember something, the memory weakens as you're remembering the last recollection rather than the memory itself. Nothing can remain intact. Still, it does not stop you wanting, does not stop you longing. I loved Caleb Azumah Nelson's narration for the audiobook, but it took me a while to get used to that narrative style, that very poetic style. When I did finally get into it, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did for the first quarter of the book, where I was still adjusting to the use of language. Open Water is a lot of things. As I said, it is a love story, yes, but it is also a celebration of Black British artists and a glimpse into the impact of systemic racism on the lives of young British Black men. Number 2, or part of this duo of reflective and poetic, A Passage North by Anuk Arudpragasam. At the start of this book, our narrator learns of someone's death. Expect lots of flashbacks as the narrator looks back on his life, sometimes seemingly with regret and things unsaid to family and friends. Sometimes he is lost in this perplexity at the conclusion of a really confusing romance. Is the book about a regret for love lost? Is it about grief? Or is it a series of glimpses about the decades-long Sri Lankan war and the shaping of the lives of the people involved? Perhaps it's a bit of everything, and the pace of this novel is slow but reflective and beautiful. I enjoyed both of these books very much. The next 2 touch on religion, so I'm going with this as being the religious duo. They are very different from each other. Matrix by Lauren Groff is unlike anything I was expecting. Does the narrator actually have visions that allow her to make the best decisions for the nuns in her care? Set in early medieval Europe, we follow Marie de France, the descendant of a long line of female warriors and crusaders, who is currently considered too coarse for courtly life, and she's packed off by royal relatives to the muddy fields of Angleterre to take up her new duty as the prioress of an impoverished abbey. She's in her late teens at that time. Women in this world are vulnerable, and only reputation can keep them from being crushed. Much of this novel centers on how Marie uses her reputation/power and shapes the lives of those around her. LGBTQ plus rep given that you'll have some hints of sexy time between the nuns. I so enjoyed this book and the little ways that it found to keep me surprised and engaged. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. As Christmas approaches in an Irish community in 1985, a man uncovers abuse at a Magdalen laundry. It is a riveting novella, and I enjoyed the reflections of the main character as he moves from being much like the rest of his community and finds himself acting in a way that fits in with his own beliefs, understanding for himself that this is what he wants to do. Why are the things that are closest to us always the hardest to see? I found it interesting to see this book play out in a different way to Matrix, but also looking at the influence of a set of nuns on a local community, even hundreds of years apart and in different countries. And now onto the tree duo, The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak and The Trees from Percival Everett. In The Island of Missing Trees, we follow the hardships and loss borne by a fictional family from late 20th century Cyprus to present day London. Part of the story sees the reader really close in with the 16-year-old daughter, Ada. Cartography is another name for stories told by winners. For stories told by those who have lost, there isn't one. I enjoyed the narration of the fig tree, though I don't know whether this actually ties in with the environmental side of things as much as perhaps it intended. Overall, I appreciated this as an emotional exploration of war and found myself really tearing up at the cost on the lives of people and their environment of this conflict between Turkish and Greek Cypriots. I'm definitely going to read more from Elif Shafak. And finally, The Trees, a murder mystery novel, which is very much a look at racism in modern day America. What can I say about this book? It took me by surprise. The dark humor it just came out of nowhere, and I found it so odd to be laughing out loud when there is so much tragedy in this book in the pages. It's a funny book about a serious issue. In the plot, we have modern-day racism playing out in the casual use of derogatory language and attitudes towards Black people by a town rife with white supremacists. This racism is further evident in the long list of names that include victims that are also Asian of lynchings from the early 1900s onward. The chapters are very short, and somehow this makes the pace perfect. At times, a chapter is just a page long and usually not more than 3 pages long. The author blew my mind to be able to write something so important about racism in our times and using humor to show how stupid racism is. It is one of those books where you're just like, oh my gosh, it is just out there, like it doesn't shy away. It is in your face and it is brilliant for it. Highly recommended. I enjoyed all 6 books, and clearly my top 2 are the Trees duo. In the middle, I have the religion duo, and the poetic/lyrical and reflective ones are still really good, but came below the Trees and religion for me. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and let me know if you're intending to read any of them if you haven't already. I had a wonderful experience in the Octafinals, and I will be looking for my next Elif Shafak and Percival Everett reads. If you have any recommendations from those 2 authors on where I should go next with them, let me know in the comments. And thanks so much for joining me, and take care. Bye.